in terms of always on, 32% of total shopping budgets are spent online. So there's a big, and this is growing massively, as I'm sure you're very familiar with. And so a huge opportunity to continue to maximise your sales. But so often we see budgets finishing or not being enough to take advantage of these huge opportunities out there. We basically feel that best practice should be always on or always open, always bidding for keywords on search or core keywords on search, as long as it's profitable. And again, these are things that iCrossing can absolutely help with. They understand what keywords you're bidding on and which ones are the most profitable for you. I mean, don't be one of these guys who run out of budget before 8 o'clock, where between 8 and 12, 20% of all money online is spent. And then finally, audience engaged. This is probably the biggest change that we're currently seeing in search right now. The IB have basically said that we're going to see over the next 7 years audience buying become the biggest single part of the marketing communications channel in terms of spend. And anyone who's good at search marketing knows how to do audience marketing. It's essentially taking all the best practices about data and strategy and optimization from keywords and moving it to a cookie-based solution. So there's a kind of a 3 sort of easy step process that we've brought in to try and help advertisers and agencies understand better how they should be doing this. The first one is collect audience signals. They could come from demographics, they could come from people clicking on ads, people clicking on your site. The second one is segment those audiences, so chunk them into your key market segments that you're looking to target. And then the third one is engage with them. And there's a number of different ways you can do with this, but critically it's about creating a personalised ad experience. So if you know that your target audience is females between 25 and 34, and you've got that data and you can see them searching for a term that's specifically relevant to you, you can up your bid so you make sure you win that auction because you know that consumer is really, really valuable to you. Or you could show them a completely different ad format which actually talks to them. You know they've been to your site, you know who they are, roughly, anonymised, and so you can show them a completely different experience, which is much more likely to get them engaged and interested in your ad, in your brand. The thing that I'm talking about there is remarketing lists for search ads, or RLSA, possibly the biggest change in search after enhanced campaigns, which we're not going to go into too much detail about today, but arguably the bigger opportunity. There was a quote I was in Dublin for a couple of days with Sam from iCrossing, and one of the bits of feedback was if you're not doing RLSA, you're not doing search properly. So again, talk to iCrossing about what you need to do to get RLSA optimized, and it's completely free. Okay, so what does all this mean for us, for you? It basically means the end of search, so I'm out of a job. Hopefully not. It's the end of search as we know it. Things are changing. So we're constantly looking at what consumers are doing and trying to stay one step ahead of what they're going to do next. There's a guy called Amit Singhal, who's our VP of search globally. Amazing presenter. If you ever get the chance to see him speak, you really should. He's far more intelligent than me. He's a massive Star Trek fan. Second time I've mentioned Star Trek, just the way it works today. Massive Star Trek fan, and as a boy, he dreamt of building the Star Trek computer. For those of you who aren't Star Trek fans, the Star Trek computer was a computer that you asked any question you wanted, and it gave you exactly the answer, gave you the exact information that you needed at that particular time. Incredible. It appears through every single series of Star Trek. It's now his ambition, his goal, his dream to build this for Google. So Google becomes the assistant that can help you in every single query. And there's 3 kind of key areas at the moment that we're looking at to build these out. The first one is answer, so giving you exactly the answer that you're looking for. The second one is converse, so having a conversation with a computer instead of just looking at some links. And the third one is anticipate, so giving you the information you need before you've even asked for it. So the first one is answer. This is knowledge graph, for those of you who are familiar with Google products. Knowledge graph basically pulls together people, places, and things to understand exactly what it is that you're searching for and give you all the content, all the information without you having to click on another link. So in this instance, someone searched for movies by J.J. Abrams, and as you can see, the carousel across the top, movies by J.J. Abrams. or this person has tried to find out when Into Darkness was released, which I watched at the weekend. It was a great movie, actually. As you can see, there's a little down arrow. If you click on that down arrow, it gives you some information about the movie. So really starting to kind of give you the information as and when you want it. But this is growing at pace. So we recently introduced statistics whereby we've always been in a position where if you search for the sake of argument, the population of India, where we would give you a trend line and we'd show you how the population of India had grown. But now what we're doing is actually we're thinking, okay, so we know that if somebody's searching for the population of India, it's likely that their next two searches will be what's the population of China and what's the population of the US. And so we give you that information without you having to search for it. Plus you've got all this information on the right-hand side all about India if you want to explore that any further. But then we thought, okay, so everyone's creating all this data. Everyone's got loads and loads of information everywhere. How do we find that data when we really need it? I've got hard drives and laptops and computers and phones with photos everywhere. I tried to put them in some kind of filing system, but it's virtually impossible. I sometimes wonder if we should just go back to what my mum did, which was create a photo album of pretty much every single moment of my life. She even tries to do it now. But what we're trying to do is bring in a personal search, so you can actually search for what's important to you. So, for example, in this one, we're seeing where's my gate number. So it's telling you information about your search, about your next flight. This is a trip to London, so your full itinerary when you're going away. A restaurant reservation, an order, and then my favourite, photos of a trip to New Zealand. So, you know, looking for information that you know is important to you, grouping it together and giving it to you when you search for it without you having to wade through loads and loads and loads of different pieces of data. Conversation. So voice search has been active on mobile for quite some time now. We recently brought it to desktop, and in a second I'm going to have a play around and see if we can get some of it to work. We introduced this new thing called hot wording. I don't know if you've heard of hot wording. You saw me demo it a second ago. It works on glass, but it also works on some desktops, so don't spend too long trying to get it to work. Essentially, it's listening constantly for you to say the hot word, which is OK Google. As soon as you say that, it starts to search. So whatever you follow with OK Google, it will give you that information. Again, we can have a play around on glass because it always works on glass. So the point here is that it's actually giving you a hands-free interface. There is no interface. There's nothing to play with. It's completely activated by voice. And once you've played with glass for a little while, you can start to see the implications for searching. Finally, anticipate, which is Google Now. Has everyone got Google Now? Has anyone got Google Now? A few people have got Google Now. If you've got an Android and an iPhone and you haven't got Google Now, get Google Now. So basically what it's doing is looking at information you've searched for in the past and giving you information that's relevant to you at that time. So the best example is when you go travelling. So I was in Dublin on Monday and Tuesday, as I said. It gave me the information about my flight without me having to search for it. It told me how long it was going to take me to get to the airport, how long to take me to get back to the hotel. It also told me the euro to pound conversion because it knows that I spend most of my time in the UK. And so if I'm in Dublin, it's likely that I've got a different currency that I'm using. So the more you use it, the more it learns, the more it understands about who you are, what you're doing, and what information it needs to surface most frequently. And so, you know, as we said, it's now on iPhone and Android and tablet. But we've recently launched a number of different cards. So we've now got reminders. And reminders on mobile are absolutely incredible. I'm not going to demo it today, but you literally just say, remind me to, and it will remind you to do whatever you've asked it to remind you to do. So for someone who's as forgetful as me, it's absolutely vital. Public transit. So you can now look for tube, bus and train information. And then music albums, books, TV shows and video games. So all this information is, as you're searching, as you're getting information from the web, it's pulling it in, it understands this is important information to you, and it automatically populates these cards with data. So there are three key experiences that we're looking at the moment. answer, converse, and anticipate. Arguably the one that's having most impact right now, or is the one that we need to understand most going forward, is conversation. So what I'm going to try and do, because it doesn't always work, if I'm honest, is do some live demos. I actually tried to do this morning, and there was loads and loads of ambient noise in the background, and I haven't got a Californian accent, as you can probably hear. You guessed that already? So we'll give it a go, and we'll see how we get on. So let's start with a relatively easy one. Calculator. What is 456 times 123? What is 456 times 123?
The answer is 56,088.
So if you could have got that quicker than me, then I would have been impressed. What is an isosceles triangle?
Isosceles triangle, a triangle with two equal sides.
This is hugely valuable. I've got kids who are starting to know more about maths. Like, it's all the stuff that I've forgotten. And so Google is helping me remember all that maths that you've forgotten. For example, show me a graph of sin x. There you go, sin x. Can somebody explain what sin x is? Because I genuinely have no idea. Okay, so I'm going to San Francisco in a couple of weeks. Let's get some information for there. What is the airport code for San Francisco?
The airport code of San Francisco International Airport is SFO.
What time is it in San Francisco?
The time in San Francisco, California, USA is 6:42 a.m.
So I know not to get in touch with any like meeting right now, but you know, maybe I can contact them a bit later. Show me things to do there.
Here are popular attractions in San Francisco.
Okay, so there's knowledge pane, as we discussed earlier, and some things that I want to do. The zoo looks interesting. When did the San Francisco Zoo open?
San Francisco Zoo opened in 1929.
Old. Is it open? Oh, didn't work. Let's ignore that one. What it should tell me is it's closed, because it's 6:42. But never mind. Give it a test yourself. Okay, so we're also starting to integrate voice search with maps data. Show me a satellite map of the world islands in Dubai.
Here is a map of world islands.
And you can click into it. I don't know if you've seen the new maps experience. Looks like we're not going to canoe today either. There we go. And you can play around with the maps in there, which is really, really very cool indeed.